Costa Rica. Okay, we're with Paul Williamsen in Costa Rica, looking over the history of Lexus for 30 years. You were telling us some really awesome stories about what you know about Lexus and its history. In particular, this car. What is the story of this car and all the other ones we are now looking at that exemplify Lexus?
So the Lexus coupe was built in two versions, the SC300 inline six and the SC400, which is a V8. So this is an SC400. This is the first gen of the coupe. The SC400 shared the same V8 engine and transmission as the original LS400 sedan, but in this beautiful live coupe body shape. A couple interesting things about the SC400 was that the body was our first Lexus not designed in Japan. It was designed by our California Design Center called CalPe. The California Design Center in Newport Beach, California had been in existence for a while. They had already done a Celica and a Toyota pickup truck.
Okay.
And they won the competition to design the coupe. One of the really interesting things about the coupe is, when you look at it, you don't see a lot of straight lines on this car. And that was very unusual. At the end of the 80s and the early 90s, a lot of cars had very much straight lines, a lot of boxy shapes. This, other than the one detail line on the side, has no straight lines on it. Everything is curved. The sort of the genesis of design was that Erwin Louis, the designer at CalPe, and his colleague Kevin Hunter were kind of playing around with different shapes. And what they found was they were putting clay in balloons and making interesting shapes of clay in balloons, which they would then let dry, peel off the balloon, you've got this shape in clay. And they started photographing those shapes and making the photographs into something that would look like a car, and this is what they ended up with. A completely new design vocabulary that had never been used in luxury cars before. And of course, it was easily tuned to be very aerodynamic. As you can see visually, it's a very clean look. And this kind of came out of this organic shape of using clay and balloons, really just as a thought experiment to get their brains thinking of a non-linear way to make a car shape.
Okay, and this came after the sharpness of vehicles previous to this.
Right. If you look at other luxury cars, at the end of the 80s, prior to this, very much linear, sharp edges, straight lines, a lot of that, and they really wanted to go a different approach with this luxury coupe.
Okay, and that same design team was the one that did which Celica?
They had done actually the second Celica, the one that became the Supra because they lengthened it.
Yeah.
That's the car they did. They didn't design the Supra version, they designed the Celica.
Okay.
So that was a 1974 Celica. Okay. And then it later became the first Supra. They had designed that car at CalPe.
Okay.
And they'd done other cars in between.
Okay. And when this came out, it came out in
92 was the first year of production.
Okay. And you were saying that this is actually a combination of... We were looking at when Lexus started, was looking at, they said 14,000 engineers input their information. This car, as an example, you were saying, you had one team designing the exterior, one designing the interior, one other one designing the wheels.
Well, at that time, we didn't have a Lexus Design Center. We do today. So you met with Sugasan today. He's the head now of Lexus Design globally. But in 1990, when this car was under development, we didn't have a Lexus Design Center. So the body design was done by CalPe, which did Toyota design. The interior was done by one of our Japanese design studios. And then typically at that time, the wheels would be designed by somebody else at one of our other design centers. We had Tokyo, Toyota City, and CalPe. Now, in the intervening years, we've now added a design center in Nice, in France. So we have 4 design centers around the globe.
Okay. Now, you have one of these cars, which is being exhibited at Pebble Beach, and it's on the way as we speak, or being prepped as we speak. Why do you like this car?
So it's funny, because you know me, Carl, I'm a real gearhead, right? I buy cars based on the technology, based on the hardware. This is the only car in my life that I ever bought because I love the looks. I mean, this is a 1992 car, right? This car is close to 30 years old, and it looks gorgeous today, right? Nothing about the lines looks wrong in this car, right? It looks perfect. And so really from the time the car was first introduced, I was always struck by the design, and I always wanted one. And so the one I have right now is 97. It's my second coupe. It's got about 170,000 miles on it. And of course, everything runs perfectly. It's flawless. It doesn't leak. It always starts. Because it's a Lexus, you don't worry about the mechanicals, but the interior is just gorgeous, and the exterior is gorgeous. So it's just a beautiful car.
Okay. What about these other cars here? Why have you chosen these particular cars, and what do they exemplify?
So the LS that we have over here is the first year of the Lexus LS400.
Okay.
When we launched the brand, we only had two models, the LS400 and the ES250.
Okay.
And the ES250 used an existing platform that we already had in the pipeline and made a Lexus version of it. But the LS was a complete new car. This is what was different in the brand.
Okay. So when you first started it, you started it with the shared platform, and this is the first full original.
They both went on sale at the same time.
Okay.
So we had a 6-cylinder car, the ES250, and we had the 8-cylinder car, the LS400. They both went on sale at the same time, but the ES was developed from an existing platform. But this was an all-new from the ground-up development.
Okay, and which is the one that had the big ad campaign with all the glasses not doing any vibration?
That would have been the LS.
That was this.
Right.
Okay.
So 4-liter V8.
Okay.
So this car, when it went on sale in September of 1989, just 30 years ago, this car competed against V8 Mercedes, big 6-cylinder BMWs, big 6-cylinder Jaguars, V8 Cadillacs, V8 Lincolns, right?
Okay.
This car was the fastest car in the segment, yet it got the best fuel economy. It was the quietest car in the segment, yet it was the lightest weight. In other words, the quiet was not achieved just by layering on sound insulation.
Yeah. You were explaining that whole yet philosophy and so on. I did not realize how hard that was. I mean, but it makes sense. And you were explaining something about the matting, the carpets. How did you go in that direction?
So, when this car was under development, anything that would add 25 grams to the car, about 1 ounce for those listening to the British system, anything that would add 25 grams had to be approved by Chief Engineer Ichiro Suzuki himself. So if a powertrain engineer said, hey, I can make the drive shaft quieter by adding some dampening here, he had to make a convincing case that there wasn't a better, lighter way to achieve that goal, right?
Okay.
And somebody, I'm not sure who, came up with the idea of making the floor mats, the carpeting that you put your feet on in the car, out of a lighter fabric. They were able to save 2 pounds per car by using hollow nylon fiber for the threads that the carpet is woven out of. Hollow fiber. Nobody had ever done that before, right? Nylon would be a solid string, and you'd weave it and you'd do whatever to make fabrics out of it. But the hollow fabric saved them 2 pounds per car, but gave you a very rich, thick feeling to the fibers, like a wool type of carpet would, but lighter in weight.
Okay. So, what would you say was the most special thing about that car and then about this car? What is it that made the biggest difference?
The biggest single difference was the engine. That was a unique engine, the 4-liter V8 engine. We'd never had a V8 in a Lexus, in a Toyota, or anything before that. So it was an all-new development. It was a very high-precision, high-efficiency engine. It used a lot of advanced technology. It certainly outpaced the rest of the market, and that was a big differentiator for that car when it went on sale.
Who were the people to beat there? Was it the Europeans or was it the Americans? Because it's a V8.
The Europeans. I mean, the Germans, the Mercedes had a 4-liter V8 at that time. BMW had a 3.5-liter 6-cylinder, which is very smooth, but not quite as powerful, and none of them were as efficient. The Americans, frankly, they still had V8 Cadillacs and V8 Lincolns. After this car went on sale, they basically got out of the V8 business. They stopped competing in that segment because this car was just so dominant.
Okay. And then for this particular car, what's the...
So the coupe is a very different product because it used the same engine as the sedan, used the same transmission, used the same differential, even much of the suspension is the same. So here it really was about how do we package a luxury coupe, get this incredibly low hood line, even though we've got a big 4-liter V8 on it, right? It couldn't have the hood line as high as the sedan and get these kind of lines.
Okay.
So this was a real champion of packaging.
Okay. And this came out how many years after that one?
So this went on sale in 92, so 2 years later. In other words, the development had already started before the LS went on sale, but it was accelerated based on the success of the LS.
Okay, so that's the benchmark, that's the originator, and this is a big jump up in, okay. What about the other two we've got here?
So the other two that we brought are RXs.
Okay.
On the left, an RX300, and on the right, an early hybrid RX400 V8. The RX300 is significant because it was the world's first luxury SUV. Prior to 1998, when this car went on sale, there were a couple of makers selling very expensive SUVs, but you couldn't quite call them luxury.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There was a Range Rover that had some nice wood and leather.
Yeah.
There was in the U.S. there was a top-line Jeep Grand Cherokee that had some wood and leather. But they were being sold to luxury customers, but they weren't a luxury experience.
Okay.
And our product planners realized that if they could engineer a luxury SUV on a unibody platform rather than a body-on-frame truck platform.
Right, which was both the Jeep was.
Oh yeah, they were both body-on-frame. The Jeep and the Range Rover.
The Range Rover was basically
okay.
Right.
This was engineered on the platform of the Lexus ES300 sedan.
Okay.
So you've got that great, quiet, solid unibody. You've got the great, quiet suspension that comes from a unibody design. And yet you've got the space efficiency of a luxury SUV.
Okay.
I'll tell you the interesting thing about this RX. Before it went on sale in '98, within the Lexus division at the time, my coworkers, many of them, were dead set against this. They were like, we are not a truck company. We're a luxury car company. This is not the customer we should be selling to. Mm-hmm. A lot of my colleagues, and even I admit, I didn't understand this before it went on sale. Mm-hmm. We had no benchmark to look at, this is how a luxury SUV can sell and who would buy it. We didn't know. Now it turned out that the product planner was right. This was the package. When it went on sale, within a year, it became the single best-selling Lexus model. It did in fact change the brand because it brought hundreds of thousands into Lexus that wouldn't have bought our cars otherwise.
Okay, well it changed the brand, it changed the market.
Changed the
and
market.
So when did this come out? In
96.
Okay, in 96. And right now, the format of other European brands is, and they're taking this, and this is what makes the market in all the emerging markets.
That's right.
So, okay, and this...
So this is our first luxury hybrid.
Okay.
So we used the success of the RX300 to create the packaging for our first ever luxury hybrid, the RX400H. So because it's an SUV, we had space to hide the batteries for the hybrid system under the seat. And so this is the world's first luxury hybrid.
Cool. Okay, we will talk more. Thank you,
Carl.
Paul.
My pleasure.